All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is going to be a video on how this world is very hypocritical, man. Because you've got everyone in this world, right, being in outrage at the tape with P. Diddy, right? And then the world talking about how they're so outraged about October 7th and all of this, right? But then when we start mentioning things about evils that have taken place to us, right? This world don't want to talk about that. The world don't want to ever talk about that, man, and has been continually telling us, get over it. This is Zechariah chapter 11 and verse 5. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. So when we talk about the Atlantic slave trade, they'll say own people soldier, which is not even true. But they try and take off the blame of all the evil that they did in that time based on a lie. But let's say that that was true. Would that still take away all the evil things that you did? Would that still take away the cannibalism that was taking place during that time? And people want to talk about October 7th, right? In the Atlantic, in that time in the land of Israel, right? But during the Atlantic slave trade, how many different dates would there have been for us to talk about? There would have been a January 1st, right? Then there would have been a January 2nd. Then there would have been a whole January date, all the days of January that we would have had to talk about. Then you would have went on to February, and you would have had every single day. There would have been so much going on that we would have had a February 1st, 1 a.m., February 1st, 2 a.m., February 1st, 3 a.m. You understand? But then the world don't want to talk about that, man. They want to try and say, oh, get over it. You didn't personally go through it. Well, okay. All of you people that are complaining about the Cassie and P. Diddy tape, you didn't personally have P. Diddy run up behind you, grab you by the head, throw you on the floor, and kick you in your back. So don't say nothing about it then. You know what I mean? Don't say nothing about it. All you people that are talking about some October this and October that, you wasn't personally over in that land having no rockets and all of that stuff shot at you. So don't say nothing about it. If that's the rule on being able to talk about something. Because all you people are complaining about some Cassie and some October 7th, but the people that died during the Atlantic slave trade were our grandparents, cousins, fathers, forefathers. You know what I mean? They were our family. We literally descend from those people, man. And there's documentaries out there about things that took place in Jamaica, for example, right? That the surnames of those people, of those slave masters, are the literal surnames of my family on my mother's side. So you people can't try and tell us nothing, man. And try and make it like, oh, these things that took place in the past ain't got nothing to do with us. Yes, they have. And the things that take place in the future are going to have something to do with us as well, man. You people really actually believed that you was going to be able to just sail off into the sunset and try and pick and choose what outrages you want to have, right? But best believe that if there's tapes like that about Diddy doing things, then there's tapes about all the Edomites that have did things too. So P. Diddy's a wicked demon. Okay, we agree. We both agree with that, right? I'm an Israelite. P. Diddy would be an Israelite too. I'm a so-called black man, as this world will call me. P. Diddy is that too. But I'm saying that P. Diddy is a demon, right? But just like how there's tapes about him doing them things, best believe there's tapes of all of these elite level people that are of the Edomite race doing things on camera. And you ain't never going to see those tapes coming out, man. You ain't going to see that footage so that people can be outraged. And even if there was footage, they'd still somehow sail off into the sunset about it, man. This world's hypocritical and extremely disgusting, man. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So that's the thing that we're desiring, man. And no matter what anyone wants to try and say about how we've lived our life or talk about any sin that we've committed, we still want this to happen, man. No matter what things people can try and point out and try and hold as a sin towards any Israelite, right? We still are waiting for that to happen, man. That's our faith, and that's what we're patiently waiting for, man. Romans chapter 8 and verse 33, who shall lay anything to the charge of Yahweh's elect? It is Yahweh that justifieth. So no matter what these people are going to have to say about any Israelite that's of the elect, that actually is a thing that they can say that they've did wrong. If they're of the elect, your accusation is going to be ignored. Any of you heathens out there. Because you got these vocab Malone type characters that are always watching and waiting to say something about us, right? But what's he up to though? What's he been doing? Because every man sins. So all the things that he wants to try and point out about us, what's going to happen when what he's been doing comes out, man? What's going to happen when his sins start to get revealed, man? And how he's not really genuine about believing in the Bible and has got his own secret thing, what he's trying to do to try and make people be considered as the T-bomb, man. That special T word that they like to throw out on people all the time. And let me get this scripture, because the world wants to try and say, oh, we weren't oppressed and all of this. Well, okay, you can believe that if you want to. You can try and say we ain't in captivity because we can be rappers, or we ain't in captivity because we can be musicians, or because we can walk through the cities and do this and do that. But let me ask this question to all you smart people out there that you think you're so wise. Were the Israelites in captivity in the land of Egypt? Because we know that they had land, they had sheep, they had cattle. They had things in the land of Egypt. They had things just like how the Egyptians had things in the land of Egypt. They had the whole land of their things that you could somewhat, I guess, if you could call it, their country at the time, or their part of a country. They had their own community of in Goshen. So, but were they in captivity? What does the Bible say? Does the Bible say the Israelites were in captivity? Even though they had their own province in Egypt, right? Which we don't have now, by the way. We don't have our own place right now. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives whose captives they were. So you people out there in the world want to say we ain't this, we ain't slaves, we ain't captives and all that. Okay. That's what you're saying. But the Bible says something else. You're saying we're not captives, but the Bible don't say that though. And the proof that we're captives is whenever anyone in this world sees us, right, in the regular world. I'm not talking about no celebrity world. I'm talking about in the regular world, right, with regular everyday people, middle class type people and all of that, right? Even in the lower class people, whenever anyone in this world sees an Israelite man, a so-called black man in particular, man, with anything that they don't have at the time, they find that very strange that they have that, and they question how he's got that, and they even might go so far as to accuse him of doing illegal things to get those things that they think that he shouldn't be able to have. But if everything's really equal, it shouldn't be a shock for him to have a nice car. It shouldn't be a shock for him to have a well-spoken language, how he speaks, to have a good vocabulary. It shouldn't be strange for him to have these things. It shouldn't be strange for him to not just want to dance to rap music all the time. It shouldn't be strange for him to have knowledge and know things if the world's really equal, right? And if you people don't really stereotype no one, it shouldn't be strange for him to be like that. But you people in this world, you find it very strange when you see an Israelite like that, because really you don't want him to be like that. You want him to be like the things you see on TV, the stereotype. And you try and make the world so so that you can point your finger at them. And that's why I find it disgusting when people want to try and cry about one person's thing that's gone on with them, but this whole world has did way worse to us as a team, man. This whole world has did you through teamwork, has went out of their way to try and shut us down, man. They've went out of their way to try and beat us up and break us down so that they can use us as free resources, man, and free income. Because instead of us having things that we push out to the world, and then they have to come and buy it from us, right? We make everything for them. We'll be a thing that's labor for them, right? And then we still have to go and buy everything from them with our money that we've made from our labor. And then the labor that we're giving to these nations is steady building them nations up, and we ain't getting no benefit out of it, man. When every single nation is supposed to have their own land, and within that land, they produce something that the rest of the world might need. But even if the rest of the world don't care for that thing, the own nation themselves could get benefit out of it, man, and be built up in that way. And then if people of the world don't like how that nation lives, well, that's fine. Don't be around them then. Psalm chapter 83 and verse 2, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. So everyone wants to say, oh, black people don't do nothing for themselves. Oh, look at what they do to themselves. But all you nations have went out of your way to cut us off from being a nation. So don't try and make out like you ain't got no part in it, man. Don't even try and make out like you ain't got no part in how with the thing that P. Diddy did, man. You're part of that. Because who's P. Diddy around most of the time, man? Who's he doing all that record label stuff with? Who's he been around, man? They did an interview with Suge Knight, and they was asking Suge Knight, oh, where do you think this kind of thing with that Diddy did stem from and all that? And they was hoping he was going to try and mention some so-called black man, right? And in the interview, as soon as Suge Knight mentioned Clive Davis, started switching up his face, blinking loads and that, because he knew. Yeah, I don't want to really talk about that guy. That guy's 92 years old, man. So how much wickedness has he been doing? That guy was born before World War II and still alive. Like you people in this world, you're hypocrites, man. You can want to complain about some tape of one woman getting beat up, but during the Atlantic slave trade, how many women was you Edomites beating up, man? And doing way worse than that. How many men were you beating up and doing way worse than that? So everyone's shocked about what's going on in Hollywood, right? But during the Atlantic slave trade, way worse things was happening to those people. And every single year that's got away from that time period, people have just continually been putting out the idea, get over it, get over it, get over it, get over it. Don't talk about it. Don't say nothing about it. But when they want to talk about a grievance in their nation, then we're supposed to march for them. We're supposed to talk about a grievance that they've got within their nation, or with a problem that's happening with their nation. But every single time we've wanted to talk about what's happened to us, that has still not been repaired. They tell us to get over it, man. And we're not going to get over it. Because Yahweh hasn't got over it, man. That was a punishment that Yahweh put on us. And it's did its job, because we now understand that the reason why he made us go through that was because we sinned against him, man. So we ain't even as cut by that time period as much no more, because we understand the reason as to why that happened. We understand that the Atlantic slave trade was a curse that God put on us. Verse 4, they have said, come and let's cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. So all you people, don't try and make out like you don't understand why we're in the state that we're in. Because you do know. Because you've got it in your mind at the highest levels and at the lowest levels. Let's team up against these people. Let's never let these people build back up because we can make money from these people. So when we want to show, right, and on that Tyson Fury boxing match, right, against Usyk, right, they had some Israelite rapping to intro that fight that I've never heard of. I don't even still know who that was, but they had an Israelite there rapping in a box that was in the sky, right? I don't even know who that guy was, man, with loads of dreads stringing out of his head, but they wanted him there though, right? They wanted him there because even in a fight where they ain't no Israelites, they got rappers there. When them people are like Ishmaelites, man, they're Ishmael or they're Elam, right? Why didn't they have one of their own people doing a performance, man, to bring in the fight? Ain't they got no singers of their own people? I'm sure they have. Ain't they got no musicians of their own people? I'm sure they have, but they use our people though, because this world wants to have us because they know that we have talent, man, and they want to use us to continually build up themselves, man. Those Ishmaelites now are trying to take loads of Israelites, right, and use them to make money through sports, man. Just like how Esau does. They ain't trying to get their own people into that when they're doing all that Riyadh season and all that. They ain't trying to get their own people in there. They ain't got the talent like that. They might bring a couple of them, but they already know no one ain't trying to see that, man. And the Fury versus Usyk match, if you ask me, was a fight between two Israelites really, because as soon as that fight finished, they both was thanking the Messiah of the Bible, but they was using the wrong name. But they both mentioned the Messiah, man. But they was using that Christian name that the Christians come up with, that they came up with, man. But they were still thanking the Lord, right? Fury even thanked the Lord even though he lost, which is only something that, if you ask me, an Israelite would do, man. Verse 6, the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. So all these different nations have teamed up against the Israelites, right? But then people want to try and show some outrage about that. Oh man, it's messed up what P. Diddy did. It's messed up what P. Diddy did. Okay, well if that's messed up, then the Atlantic slave trade's real messed up, right? And how long are people going to still talk about that? People are still talking about Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear, when Evander Holyfield don't even really talk about it that much. So people, even though that took place like a good maybe 20 years ago, they're still talking about that. But we can't talk about the Atlantic slave trade when there would have been way more than ears getting bit off during that time. People was getting their souls broken in that time, man. People was getting their whole mind crushed during that time, man. People were seeing their sons and their daughters and their fathers and their mothers and their grandmothers and their grandfathers and their cousins and their nephews and their nieces broken completely. But people want to try and cry about some Octobers or cry about some celebrity tapes. So what about what you've did then? If those things are bad, right? Then what about what you Edomites did then, man? And are doing and are going to do? What about that stuff then? We don't even need to talk about the things of the past, right? What about what you're doing right now? And I'm going to end the lesson there, man. Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. Shalom.